Hey everyone, welcome to another macro photography video. So I'm out in the forest again for just another kind of simple photo walk video, and it's been a little while. And that's mostly just because I've been very busy for the last few weeks. 2 weeks ago, when I'm filming this, was the City Nature Challenge, which is one of the biggest global citizen science events or community science events. And that basically on one weekend every year, people in cities all over the world go outside to document the biodiversity in their cities. And Berlin is participating for the 4th time, and I'm co-organizing it here again and participating a lot, so I was really busy at that weekend and basically just outside non-stop trying to find as many species as I possibly could. And I was mostly focused on just getting documentation photos, just for ID enough to identify what species it is, and not so much on getting really nice focus decks or nicer compositions of everything. But a few times there was a subject that was so cool that I just felt like, okay, I have to try and get a nicer stack of those. So I thought I would show you a few of those pictures in this video. Now, first of all, one of the coolest things that I saw on the first day, on the Friday, was this thick-headed fly. It is quite a cool species that I don't see that often, and it was sat really nice on a little white hawthorn flower. Now, other than that, I did find some other cool subjects on that walk, but most of them I didn't get very good photos of. But on the next day, I was out in a foresty, swampy area, actually, where I filmed my last video, and I found really a lot that day. And the coolest thing, so that was on a guided tour with a few friends of mine from the Natural History Museum, and one of the coolest things we saw was this really big grass snake, or Natrix natrix, which is one of the only snake species we have here in Berlin. And I was able to get a stacked portrait, which I'm really, really happy with. And after that, we had the idea that I could also get a closer cropped photo of just the scales at high magnification. And this took a few attempts, but finally I was able to get this stack with the scales really close in the frame, and I think this shot turned out really well. Now, later on the same walk, I also found a little damselfly that I was able to get this stack of, just peeking out from behind a blade of grass. And along with that, there were a lot of dragonflies around. Now, most of the time dragonflies are really skittish and hard to get a picture of, but I found this one. I don't remember the species name, but I'll have a look when I'm home. And I was able to get a few stacks because it was staying quite still on a leaf. I'm not sure if it was a freshly emerged from a molt or what, but it was staying quite still, and I got this portrait, which I'm really happy with. Now, on the same tour, I also found actually 2 different kinds of fungus weevil, and both of these species I don't see very often, and they look really cool. One is Platyrhinus albinus, and the other one is Platyrhinus resinosus. And the second species, resinosus, I haven't seen for a very, very long time. I've never really gotten a good photo, so I was happy to get this portrait, and I just think this species looks really, really cool. Now, later on the same day, I was out in a different location, and one of the coolest things, probably one of my highlights of the whole event during the City Nature Challenge, was seeing and getting to photograph a spadefoot toad. Now, this species isn't that rare in Berlin, but they're really hard to see because they only come out at night. But we got lucky. We were on a tour and actually just happened to come across some people who were just bringing a few of these toads out that they had found in their basement, and were going to release them outside by the water. And since we were kind of on a tour from the Natural History Museum, they showed them to us, and we had a chance to get some photos. And I got this portrait of one, which I really like how it turned out. They just look really kind of cute and silly from the head on. And along with that, they have really, really cool eyes. So I got a really high magnification stacked shot of one of its eyes, and I think this looks really cool. And the last thing that I found during this nature challenge that I got a good stack of was on the final day, kind of in just a city park right in the middle of the city, was an acorn weevil in the genus Curculio. And I always love these. These are some of my favorite beetles to photograph. They just have this super, super long snout, and they just look really, really cool. And I was able to get a few stacks of this. All right, so back to today. I'm in a little bit of a different forest area than usual. I found this place for the first time a few weeks back. I was trying to film a video, but turns out I forgot my memory card at home. So I'm back again today, and it's a really nice day, and I'm just curious to see what I can find. Yeah, let's see. On the leaves of this tree right here, there's a whole lot of cucumber spiders in the genus Araneella. And the way that these spiders build their webs is quite cool. They have kind of a spread out flat web spread across the top of the leaf, and then they sit on the underside of the web, kind of sandwiched between the web and the leaf. And one of them right here, I found, has caught some kind of prey. I can't really tell what it is until maybe I go a bit closer with the camera. And it's moving around a bit, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to get a stack, but I'll just give it a try, and at least maybe I can get a few cool single shots. So let's see. And the way I'm keeping this steady, because as you can see it's quite windy, is I'm just holding the leaf in my left hand, and then the camera in my right, and then I can rest the lens on my left hand and keep it quite steady. Whenever you see little buttercup flowers like this, it's always worth taking a closer look, because there's a couple of beetle species that often gather, sometimes in quite big groups, in the middle of these flowers. And there's a few of them, I think 2 or 3, on this one that I found here, and I think it could make for quite a cool photo. Now they're moving around a bit, so I'm just going to go for a single shot at a bit lower magnification, but it might take a few attempts also just to get the settings right. But I think that this could look quite cool. Let's see. There's a cool little kind of dried out boggy area here, and there's a few little rocks like this strewn around. So I thought I would flip one over carefully and see if there's anything underneath. There is a tiny little springtail here, a Lepidosyrtus if I'm not mistaken. Oh yeah, that's Lepidosyrtus paradoxus, which is a beautiful species, kind of iridescent and really cool shape. Now it's a bit tricky, it's running around like crazy, but I think if I just up my aperture a little bit, I'm definitely only getting single shots, but maybe I can get something decent. I have the Raynox 250 with me as well, and since this is such a small thing, I am going to clip that on just for a little bit more magnification. I've never actually used it with this lens, so let's see how this goes. Definitely a lot more magnification. I just don't know if the results will be sharp. I guess we'll find out. Alright, so I think I got some decent single shots of that springtail at least. Now let's check under another rock. Not seeing anything right away. Ooh, little ground beetle of some sort right here. I can imagine this one will be pretty skittish, but I'll at least give it a try. There, see there, that's quite a pretty greenish color. But it's in a very difficult location. There. So right here I've found the biggest crab spider I've ever seen. Some kind of ground crab spiders, isticas, or something in that family anyway. I'll have a look when I'm home, but it's actually staying quite still, so I'm gonna try and get a few stacks before it moves. And first of all, I've just got my standard, the Laowa 65mm on, and I'm just gonna get a burst for a portrait stack. Since it's staying still, I'm actually going to try and switch to the Laowa 25mm here to get even more magnification and for a closer portrait. So what I tend to do when I switch lenses in the field, I just flip my flash up to the top so it's out of the way, and then I take off the rear cap of the lens that I'm putting on, and then with one hand, move this out of the way and swap the other lens on, and then I can put the rear cap on this lens. And that way the sensor is open for as little time as possible, because you really want to avoid exposing the sensor when you're outside as much as possible. But sometimes you have to switch lenses, like in this case the 25mm goes to much higher magnification than the 65mm does. So now I'm just going to shoot at probably 3 times or 3.5 times magnification, and then that is a much closer portrait, or at least much higher magnification. And I think that'll look really cool. So I'm just going to find the front of the subject again, and then shoot a stack. Alright, so that was quite a nice little photo walk. I didn't end up finding that much, and a lot of what I found was just too active to get any stacks or other nice shots. But it's always nice to be outside, and that crab spider was really cool. I think those portraits will turn out quite well. And otherwise, I hoped you enjoyed hearing about and seeing some of my photos from the Signature Challenge. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.
Remove the camera, just put yourself